Hello, everyone. Today is April 30th, 2018. Several friends of mine have been coming to me about, well, what the heck, what's going on here, the way the planet is right now, and especially things going on in the US, but also in other countries as well. It's just become almost a feeling of being intolerable, like we're living in some kind of surrealistic nightmare. And it is difficult for all of us. It's difficult for me to go on Facebook every morning and there it is, the absurdity of Trump, the craziness of the elite, the absolute evil greed that's permeating the planet. Not good news. And some people say, well, I'm just going to stay off of Facebook, but that doesn't cut it because it's still going on. Unfortunately, it's not quite that quantum. If you don't see it, it's not happening. But, that doesn't mean you should be on Facebook. I am, because I feel part of my mission in life is sacred activism, is networking information, while trying to stay positive doing it, which is kind of like scratching your head and rubbing your stomach, But that said, I'd like to try to put some things into perspective. I can only speak from my own connection to spirit, and thus to the Thothic Akasha and the Thoth being, and those things which I personally connect to or feel that I do. It's part of my reality, and I'm going to share that with you. I've shared it in the past, obviously, on various videos. I've talked about some of these things, but this is now. This is April 30th, and things are happening very fast, moving in all directions on this planet. So I'd like to address it from this point in time and kind of capsulize it. I don't want to make a huge long video here. So I'm going to see what I can do. It's just off the cuff as I usually speak. I'm going to skip things, big chunks of things, like, for instance, who is really operating behind the scenes and all of that. Briefly, I will say, of course, that, it's a combination of very, very old families on the planet that have had control of this Earth scenario for some time. And a lot of them have been incarnated back quite far to be involved with the Anunnaki presence and all of that. We can call them the elite, we can call them the deep state, we can call them all kinds of things, and they're all over the earth, but they're most especially operating right now. Their central operation is within the United States. But they are also influenced strongly by what Thoth calls the architects, and the architects are a mixture of, well, we're all kind of a mixture of star races and humans. We all are, but they're what Thoth would call Nephilimic, and that's the Anunnaki were too, but there's more Nephilim than just the Anunnaki. So let's just say a star race type that is very interfering with this planet and has been for a long time. So the architects are the ones that architect it all here, and they're part. They're human, but they have a lot of this particular XET genetics. We're going to leave out things like lizard people and all of that, because that's really, according to Thoth, very misunderstood picture. And the Lizzies are really a small fraction of interference on this planet. They've been made to be this big, big, big thing, and it's been confused with the reptilian, what do I want to call it? The serpentine energy, the dragon energy, which is actually just a primal energy of the planet and can be used in a very positive and high order way. Has nothing to do with lizard people. So there's a lot of different stuff there, and that's why I said I wouldn't go into it, didn't I? Oh gosh, I sound like someone who happens to be the leader of this country. I contradict myself every 5 seconds, but I didn't want to go into it. But I'm trying to just give you just a basic idea of what I'm presenting here. And so we can say, just to capsulize it all, that whoever is behind all of this, whether it's, what Thoth is talking about, the combination of this particular nephelimic DNA genetics with humans that have lived on this planet for a very, very long time. And according, when I say lived on this planet as that race, and they have also mixed with some of the nature kingdom, some of the lesser evolved parts of the nature kingdom. And bear in mind, a lot of the nature realm, the sprites, the beings, the fairies, whatever, can be influenced into negative modalities because they're very malleable. It's an energy that's very malleable, like water and reflecting light. So there are certain aspects of it that can be. So when you combine all of that, you get this kind of person. And they are the architects, but the architects aren't available to us on television and Facebook and whatever. They're hidden. They wear regular clothes and they walk down the street and they do things out in the world, but they don't let you know who they are. We have a lot of focus on the Rothschilds and the Zionists and all of this. These are names in terms of the Illuminati. Thoth just throws those out. He says those are just terms to describe certain very surface aspects of all of this. That's not where it's really coming from. It's actually the architects actually want you to go there. They want you to focus on the elitists. They want you to focus on the Zionists, the lizard people, the royalty. They want you to focus on all of this because it gets you away from actually just discerning where this is really coming from. That doesn't mean that all of these things that I'm talking about don't have some claws, but it's not where you need to be looking. Be aware of all of that, but that's not it. And quite frankly, it almost doesn't matter where it is at this point. What we need to be focusing on is us, where we are. And that's the most important thing. Because if we get drawn out of who we are and start focusing on who they are and what they are doing too much, then we find ourselves powerless. But there's a balance. I don't believe in hiding your head in the sand. Thoth does not encourage that. You have to be present. You have to see the writing on the wall, but you don't try to decipher every little bit of the code. You just say, I see it. I know it for what it is, but I'm going to focus all of this through my own being. I'm going to say, this is who I am. And my focus is where it counts. And so by being aware of what is out there and being able to handle that by not going into a fear state or a depressed state, just keep bringing it back to the powerful spiritual being that you are. And you know you are. On your worst day, you know in your deepest self that you are a spiritual, powerful, and good being. Not perfect, but there's no need to be perfect right now. You just need to be in the true I am presence of yourself. So let's go to the big question that begs to be answered by the human population. How the heck did we get here? And why aren't we being helped more? We have all these ultra beings out there and angels and, all this marvelous energy, spiritual consciousness. And we are doing the best of our ability to stay in touch with that every day. Why aren't we getting more results? Well, a lot of it has to do with perspective. When we can only see a teeny, 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 tiny part of what's really going on, then we look at it and it looks pretty bleak. It's kind of like an ant crawling around on a leaf. And it's a really big leaf and it's a really little ant. And this ant is going, oh my God, when is this journey ever going to be complete? When am I going to find the food I need, the water I need? Had to pause for a moment, a little bit of a coughing spell. Anyway, back to this ant. You know, he's really frustrated because he's just walking and walking and walking. And maybe it starts to rain and these big old blobs of water hit him and he can barely, he's swimming around in the big blobs. And he said, I wanted water, but I didn't want this much water. And all this stuff is going on, you know? And this little ant's getting really pissed. He wants his greater hive to communicate with him. And it doesn't seem to be happening. But if you draw the camera back from the little ant, you see that he's on this incredibly beautiful plant. It's flowering. The rain is coming down simply to bless the plant and make it grow. And as the plant becomes more energized and beautiful and sucks up all the light and the energy it needs, the little ant that's on the plant is going to be given a safe haven, a place to grow, a place to dwell. But it might have to go through a lot before it can recognize that plant and start crawling up the stem and find its direction and go into the heart, into the sweet nectar of the plant. I know that's not the most encouraging visualization I can give you, but it's the one that came to mind. And so we are on this incredibly beautiful living creature, the earth. And it is multidimensional. It is guardianed and guided by high, beautiful beings and angelic ones. And it has an incredibly rich nature kingdom on various levels that we could never even imagine. And yes, it's getting pelted by a really big storm right now. And these big old blobs of water, of energy are just pelting it. But you see, the earth knows. Its intelligence, Gaia knows that it's going to get through this. And by through it, I mean it's going to be transforming itself through this process. And it could have been done an easier way had humanity and all the principles involved with this organizational, what those calls consensual reality, had done it differently. It would have been a lot easier trip. But you know, that's looking backward. We need to look in the present and also forward from the anchor of the present. And the earth knows it has the intelligence to guide us through. It's not angry with us. Yes, we have mistreated it, but it has a much greater sense of loving kindness and dimension to its understanding, to its comprehension. It's not going to do a make wrong. Make wrong is coming out of a very lopsided polarity consciousness. The earth is polarized, but it's polarized in the most beautiful, balanced way. And it's not going to punish us. It's not punishing us. We are creating the reality that we live in. And I know you think, well, I didn't create it. I'm doing the best I can. Of course, even considering past lives, you know, you might have had a little more to do with creating this, what we're in right now. I certainly might have. But that's not even it. We're really looking too small when we just think, oh, well, in a past life, maybe I did something bad to the planet, you know, whatever. That's not really even a place to go looking. What it is that we're all involved in this incredible creational process. And there are aspects of the universal state that are the anti-presence of this. And that anti-presence just naturally wants to pull it away, wants to draw it down, wants to make it a flat plane so that its virus can grow there. When we have a virus in our body, we don't think of the virus as really evil, do we? Maybe some people do, but mostly we think of it as a germ. It's just got to be our body's out of balance. We didn't do something right. Our immune system is down. This is the way things go. And we don't want that virus or fungus or whatever growing in us or on us. So we have to change our bodies to make it go away. And it's the same thing here. We have created a reality where viruses grow. And we did that for various reasons, not intentionally for the most part. And when you're a little infant and you toddling around the house, you might stick your finger in the candle flame, you might knock it over, and you didn't mean to. You're just exploring. Well, we're all children of God, so to speak, and we're infants in many respects in our soul language. We're beautiful beings, but we're involved in a grand experiment. And there's a lot of aspects as to what this earth is about that I just simply can't go into on this video. And I've mentioned them on various other videos. So let's not be too hard on ourselves, but at the same time, let us understand that we're all part of this creational process. It's not a make wrong, it's just a fact. And Gaia knows this, and Gaia is holding us in her heart. And we really need to stay connected to that knowing. Wow, I'm just getting it so strong right now. I can barely talk. But as I said that, I felt this wave of her beingness coming into my space, into my heart. It was so incredible. Perhaps as you're listening to this with me, you can feel it as well. It is so powerful, so pure, so direct. Nothing can overcome that. We just need to get connected to her. Yes, it's good to look to the cosmos, but here is where it's at. And that's why it's so important for us to connect our hearts to the planetary heart, to the central sonatoma, which is her heart. The line of light in all of this, rather than saying the bottom line, is that we are standing on the most beautiful, incredible flower. It's a divine flower in the universe. It's very special. It's not just one of a zillion. It has a special purpose, a very unique one in our universe. Of course, any place of God is a beautiful, unique place. And I use the term God as source, allness, divine light, whatever you want to call it. But this planet has a very unique purpose, and that's why so many have tried to meddle with it. But we've let them in. We've opened the door and said, come on in. And you might think, how did we do this? Well, that's a long story, and I'm not going to get into it here. Maybe another episode. But we did. And not through evilness or anger or selfishness or greed. Not in the very, very beginning. The very beginning, it was innocence. And yet, foolishness. Desire. But all in the simplest of states at that time. It's not so simple now, but it was then. But again, looking back really doesn't solve that much. We just need to understand that we are not being punished. We are not being abandoned. We have to let certain things play out at this point. It's like if you got on an airplane, a jet, big old jumbo jet, and you were flying from Los Angeles to Cairo. I've done that. And no, actually, I flew from New York to Cairo. Let's make it New York to Cairo. Okay, so you're on this plane and you're over this vast ocean and you're halfway in the middle of the trip and you go, I want to turn around and go back. Actually, you're further than halfway. Okay, you're further than halfway. And you say, no, pilot, you got to turn me around. I want to go back to New York right now. What is the pilot going to tell you? I don't think so. You bought your ticket. You got on the plane. We've flown way over halfway to the whole journey. You're going on this plane till you get to Cairo. That's what you're going to do. So that's where we are. We're in the air, and we're way over halfway through with this trip. And we bought this ticket, and we got on this plane. So all the angels in heaven aren't going to take this plane and just turn it around and point in the other direction. Now, they can help us have a better flight, but only if we make that connection deepest in our being. And we cannot do it to the satisfaction we want, we desire, if we are all tangled up in fear, in hate, in anguish, in resentment. That doesn't mean that we have to resolve all of that and be perfect little beings before we can get help. But we got to get out of the tangle. We can still feel some of those things, but we've got it all knotted up right now. And I say we, some of us more than others, obviously, but anybody that's really feeling the need for solace right now, that's really feeling the need to find some answer, some solution, to find some way to make this all better. And I am one of those people. So I'm not sitting up on a little cloud, looking down and telling you this stuff. Maybe Thoth is, but I'm not. We have to turn loose of all this stuff to a certain degree, so that we can let in the light. And that's just it, We have to communicate. But the beauty of it is that even though we're going through all of this right now, a part of us is not. There's a part of us that is not dealing with all of this. It's on a higher dimension, and that's trying to work with us. Now, this is us, our soul. Excuse me. I shouldn't drink my drink and talk at the same time here. Oh, gosh. Anyway, we are really so close. We are so close to stepping over the line. And when I say that, I mean moving into what Thoth calls, or I've actually termed it Pyramidus Radius Matrix. Well, no, I didn't. Let me see, how did that work? There's this really, really, really long name. I have it on the website that Thoth gave me, some spiritual name for this thing. And I said, Thoth, I cannot remember that. I cannot keep writing that all the time, especially with my dyslexia. So he gave me Pyramidus Radius Matrix. That's something I could kind of grasp. So that's what we call it. But Thoth gave this beautiful, high-sounding name. And the Pyramidus Radius Matrix is that matrix of energy consciousness that is calling to us now. And when we step over the line and really get involved in that consciousness layer, that is the foundation for the next step, which is, of course, LP40, ascension modality, moving into the New Earth Star consciousness. But we're not ready for that yet. And that is why the Pyramidus Radius is setting up on the planet. And it's well set up, but we have not integrated with it yet. So this is where we're needing to move, because the earth as we know it is changing, and it will continue to change. And at some point, this physical planet as we know it will simply crumble and disappear. But by that point, the ascension will have taken place. In fact, we move into that, we leave behind the planet for a very short period of time, and then it will simply not be here anymore. But the earth will. The earth as a conscious vehicle, as a Gaia presence, will be in the new Earth star. And it will be that. And we will join it there. Now, how this takes place, I have a lot of details written on my website that Thoth gave me. But, that's what I'm bringing through. I bet you could toss a stone and find a zillion other people bringing through other versions of it. Can I explain that? No, I can't. Not really. Am I right and they're wrong? Are they right and I'm wrong? And there's all these different rights and all these different wrongs. I'm just not going to go there. All I'm asking, giving you here, is not my picture of every single little thing that happens, but the basis of it. The basis is that we are not alone. We are being helped much more than we can cognize, because we're not conscious enough to do so. We're focused outwardly and not focused inwardly. And that's why we're not seeing it. That's why we're this little ant on the plant. We're not seeing the beautiful plant we're sitting on. We're not seeing the location in that plant we need to be to drink the sweet nectar. All of that is universal principle. Now, bad guys, good guys, where they came from, what are the stages to ascension? What is it going to be? What's like, that is not as important. I present what Thoth tells me about it because some people resonate with it, and it gives them comfort, and it gives them understanding, and an understanding of the dynamics that they choose to embrace along with me. Other people look at it and go, I don't think so. I'm sure, I haven't had people say that to me, but I'm sure there are plenty that do. And they find something else that gives them that sense of understanding. But all of us are in the same place with universal law. And that is the dimension of not being out there, but being in here, and observing from in here rather than out there, and how things change and become more coherent and more beautiful despite what's out there when we're in here. Now that I can say with certainty, because it's just flat out universal principle. And so I think I will conclude here. I don't really feel guided to try to go into details or ask those what's going to happen with Trump or what's going to happen with climate change and this and that. He's given information on some of that. He really pretty well stays away from this whole Trump elite thing in regard to trying to giving me information on it. It's not where we need to be going in a channeled sense, or in a, if we're going to reach into the pockets of the masters, we don't want to look for loose change. We want to get to the quality gold pieces that are in there, and we're not going to shuffle around and try to find the nickels and dimes. It's just not what we should be doing. We need to go for the gold. And so that's where I try to keep myself when I move into the Thoth extreme. There are rare exceptions, but actually they're connected to the gold at the time. That's the only reason I do it. And so, my dears, I am going to conclude here. And I hope this has been helpful. I'm sorry about all the mishaps that I usually create when I'm talking. But I just feel so strongly that we just have to stay together on this. When I say together, I don't mean all in the same little tiny belief system. I'm talking about stay together in the heart, stay together in helping each other to remind each other that we need to be here now, and we need to be in ourselves, That is, focused into the eternal being that we are, and find our power there, and find our strength, and also find our answers. And we'll find that the questions that we're asking are probably not the questions we should be asking. And look deeper and find out what the ultimate answers are, and then form our questions to suit those. It's kind of like a reverse system, back engineering, we might say. Okay, so that's it. And I will talk to you more at another time. Until then, happy trails.